Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the midbrain part of the brainstem. Now we all know brainstem contains basically three main structures, that is the midbrain, pons and medulla. Now as you can see in this diagram, this is the midbrain, and the midbrain forms the upper and the shortest part of the brainstem. Now this midbrain actually connects the forebrain with the hindbrain. Now as you can see, this midbrain actually connects the forebrain with the hindbrain, and this midbrain actually contains one cavity known as the cerebral aqueduct or the aqueduct of the cerebellum. Now it is basically seen from the sagittal section of the brain. Now as you can see in this diagram, this is sagittal section, and over here from here, this is the cerebral aqueduct cavity of the midbrain. Now this cerebral aqueduct actually connects the fourth ventricle of the brain with the third ventricle. Fourth ventricle with the third ventricle is connected by the cerebral aqueduct or the aqueduct of the cerebellum. Now the midbrain actually passes through the tentorial notch. Now some of the relation of the midbrain. Now anteriorly it is in the relation with the interpeduncle structure in the interpeduncle fossa. Now the structures are the mammillary bodies or tuber cinerarium. Now as you can see in this diagram, this is the mammillary body and this is the tuber cinerarium. Now tuber cinerarium is a hollow eminence of the grey substance situated between the mammillary body and the optic chiasma. And the mammillary body are a pair of small round bodies located on the under surface of the brain and forms a part of the limbic system. Posteriorly, the midbrain is in relation with the splenium of the corpus callosum. Now this is the splenium of the corpus callosum. Then the great cerebral vein, pineal body, and the right and left thalamus. Now on the either side we have optic tract, parahippocampal gyrus. Now what is parahippocampal gyrus? Now as you can see in this diagram, this green color structure is a parahippocampal gyrus. Now this hippocampal gyrus is a grey matter cortical region of the brain that surrounds the hippocampus and is a part of the limbic system. Now the region plays an important role in memory encoding and retrieval. Then we have posterior cerebral artery and the basal vein. Now the external features of the midbrain. Now to study the external features, we have divided the surface into ventral surface and dorsal surface. Now first of all, the external feature of the ventral surface of the midbrain. Now this is the ventral surface of the midbrain, as you can see. Okay, this is the ventral surface of the midbrain. This is the cerebellum, this is the pons, and this is the midbrain. Now this ventral surface of the midbrain presents two crura, as you can see. Two crura or the crus cerebri of the midbrain, which emerges from the cerebral hemisphere and converges downward to enter the pons. As you can see, it actually converges downwards to enter the pons. This is the pons, to enter the pons, forming the posterolateral boundaries of the interpeduncle fossa. Now this is the interpeduncle fossa, which actually contains the interpeduncle structures, right? Mammillary bodies, or we can say tuber cinerarium. Okay, so this actually converges downward and forms the boundary of the interpeduncle fossa. We can say the posterolateral boundary of the interpeduncle fossa, which contains the interpeduncle structures. Now the superficial surface of the crus, as you can see, crus cerebri is finely corrugated by the underlying longitudinal fibers. Now as you can see, it is crossed transversely from above downwards by the optic tract. This is the optic tract. Okay, posterior cerebral artery, superior cerebral artery, and tinea pontis. So mainly it is crossed transversely by four main structure. Out of this is the optic tract. Then we have posterior cerebral artery, superior cerebellar artery, and tinea pontis. Now as you can see, this is the oculomotor nerve. Now this oculomotor nerve emerges from the groove on the medial side of the crus cerebri. Now next is the trochlear nerve. Now this is a trochlear nerve. Now this trochlear nerve doesn't arise from the ventral surface. It basically arises from the dorsal surface. Now as you can see, this is the dorsal surface of the midbrain, and this is the trochlear nerve. So this trochlear nerve basically emerges on the dorsal aspect of the midbrain and curls around the lateral aspect of the cerebral peduncle to appear on the ventral aspect of the midbrain, lateral to the oculomotor nerve. Now these two nerves, that is the oculomotor and the trochlear nerve, run forward between the posterior cerebral and the superior cerebellar arteries. Now the dorsal surface of the midbrain, now it basically presents four rounded elevations, as you can see. These are the four rounded elevations, two superior and two inferior. These are mainly called as the superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi, and these four together are known as the corpus cortigemina. These four together are known as the corpus cortigemina, superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. Now the colliculi are separated from each other by a cruciform sulcus, as you can see. Now the vertical limb of the sulcus, when traced above, forms a surface depression which lodges the pineal body and when traced below, it becomes continuous with the frenulum villi. Now what is frenulum villi? A frenulum villi is actually a slightly raised white band passing from the inferior end of the medial longitudinal fissure, passing through the groove between these corticeminal bodies and ends downward into the superior medullary velum. So in short, it actually passes from the groove between the corticeminal bodies and ends up down into the superior medullary velum. So just remember, it is actually a white raised band passing from the groove between the corticeminal bodies up to the superior medullary velum. Now next is the trochlear nerves. As you can see, these are the trochlear nerves, and this trochlear nerves emerges one on each side of the upper part of the frenulum villi after decussating in the superior medullary velum. Now thick ridges of the white matter extending from the lateral side of the colliculus of each colliculus constitutes their brachii. As you can see, these are the brachii. As you can see, this is a colliculus and this is the brachii extending from each colliculus. Now the main function of the brachii is to connect the colliculus with these geniculate bodies. Now as you can see over here, the superior brachium connects the superior colliculus to the lateral geniculate body and also the optic tract, and is made up of optic tract fibers, while the inferior brachii, this is the inferior brachii. Now this inferior brachium connect the inferior colliculus to the medial geniculate body and is made up of auditory fibers. The superior and the inferior colliculi are concerned with the reflex activity triggered by the auditory and the visual impulses respectively. Now the internal structure of the midbrain. Now after doing the transverse section of the midbrain, we can see this structure of the midbrain. Now as you can see in the center over here, there is one cavity known as the cerebral aqueduct or the aqueduct of the Sibelius. Now we discussed about this before, that it basically connects the fourth ventricle of the brain to the third ventricle. Right, fourth to third ventricle is connected by the cerebral aqueduct. Now coronal plane passing through the aqueduct divides the midbrain into two parts. There is a small posterior part and the large anterior part. The small posterior part is known as the tectum, remember tectum, and consists of four colliculi, that means the two superior and two inferior colliculi, and the large anterior part is divided into two equal half, right and left, by a vertical plane, the cerebral peduncles. Okay, and each cerebral peduncle is further divided into three main parts. There is a tegmentum, substantia nigra, this is substantia nigra, and the crus cerebri. Now remember, the structure in the tectum and the tegmentum vary at different levels of this midbrain, but those of the crus cerebri and the substantia nigra are nearly the same throughout the whole length of the midbrain. So let's go in this diagram, it will be more clear to you. Now first of all, this is the crus cerebri, this is the substantia nigra, this is the tegmentum part, okay, this is the tectum part, and this is the posterior and this is the anterior part. Okay, the crus cerebri is a part of the cerebral peduncle situated anterolateral to the substantia nigra. It contains important descending tract which connect the cerebral cortex to the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord, cranial nerve nuclei and the pontine nuclei. Now the corticospinal fibers and the corticonuclear or the corticobulbar fibers or the pyramidal tract occupies the middle 2/3 of the crus. The frontopontine fiber, as you can see, occupy the medial 1/6 of the crus, and the temporopontine fibers, occipito and the parieto-pontine fibers occupy the lateral 1/6 of the crus. Now next is the substantia nigra. This is the substantia nigra. This whole part is the substantia nigra. Now this part is curved pigmented band of grey matter situated between the tegmentum and the crus cerebri. Now this is the concave part and this is the convex part. Okay, now the concavity is smooth and directed towards the tegmentum. From its convex margin, spiky processes, it is not visible very clear over here, but there is spiky processes project into the substance of the crus cerebri. Now substantia nigra is a large motor nucleus that actually extends throughout the length of the midbrain, and it is the same throughout the whole length of the midbrain, right? If you remember, I told you that the crus cerebri, this part and the substantia nigra are the same throughout the length of the midbrain. Now the substantia nigra is curved pigmented band of the grey matter. It is basically divided into two main parts, that is the dorsal part and the ventral part. Dorsal part is also known as the pars compacta. As you can see over, it is also known as the pars compacta. Okay, and it contains the medium sized cells. Okay, while the ventral part, or we can say the pars reticularis, mainly contains fewer cells. Now the pars reticularis is intermingled with the fibers of the crus cerebri. Now substantia nigra is basically made up of deeply pigmented nerve cells which contains the melanin, and iron. Now these cells synthesize dopamine, which is carried through the axons to the corpus stratum. Now very important, the degeneration of the or the destruction of the substantia nigra causes deficiency of the dopamine in the corpus stratum, leading to a clinical condition known as the Parkinsonian. Now what structure we will find if we will do the TS at the level of the inferior colliculi. So this is the TS at the inferior colliculi level. Now first of all, at the grey matter. Now the central grey matter actually contains the cerebral aqueduct at its center and contains basically two nuclei, as you can see. That is the nucleus of the trochlear nerve or the trochlear nerve nucleus and the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So now first of all, trochlear nerve nucleus is basically situated close to the median plane, just posterior to the medial longitudinal fasciculi. This is the medial longitudinal fasciculi. So posterior to this we have trochlear nerve nucleus. And the emerging fibers from this trochlear nucleus, as you can see, these are the emerging fibers from the nucleus. So these fibers passes laterally, as you can see, and passes laterally and then posteriorly around the grey matter and leave the midbrain just below the inferior colliculus. Okay, a fibrotrochlear nerve now decussate with each, as you can see, they both decussate with each other in the superior medullary velum and wind around the lateral aspect of the midbrain to enter the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus. Now this is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Now this nucleus actually lies in the lateral edge of the central grey matter and receives the proprioceptive impulses from the muscles of the mastication, teeth, ocular and the facial muscles. Now look at this. This is the nucleus of the inferior colliculus. Now an ovoid mass of grey matter underneath the inferior colliculus forms the nucleus of the inferior colliculus. It basically receives the efferent fibers of the lateral lemniscus and gives the efferent fibers to the medial geniculate body through the inferior brachium. Now if you remember what is brachium, brachium is actually the ridge of the white fiber which actually connects the particular colliculus with the particular geniculate bodies, right? Now we have substantia nigra also and reticular formation. As you can see, this is a reticular formation. Now this reticular formation is smaller than that in the pons and is situated ventrolaterally between the medial lemniscus. This is the medial lemniscus and between the central grey matter. Okay, so between these two it is basically present. Now the white matter basically contains over here, as you can see, this is decussation of the superior cerebellar peduncles. Now this basically occupies the central part of the tegmentum and forms the most important feature in the lower part of the midbrain. Now these are the lemnisci. The lemnisci are arranged in the form of a curved compact band of white fibers in the ventrolateral part of the tegmentum, lateral to the cerebellar decussation and the dorsal to the substantia nigra. This is substantia nigra. So dorsal to the substantia nigra, it is basically present. Now from the medial to the lateral side, we have medial lemnisci, trigeminal lemnisci, spinal and the lateral lemnisci. Now remember, the lateral lemnisci is posterior to the spinal lemnisci and ends in the inferior colliculus. Now in the center or the median part, we have one fasciculus and two tracts. Okay, the fasciculus is the medial longitudinal fasciculus which lies on the side of the midplane ventral to the trochlear nerve nucleus. This is a trochlear nerve nucleus. So ventral to this, we are having this medial longitudinal fasciculi. Now two tracts, that is the tectospinal tract and the rubrospinal tract. This tectospinal tract lies ventral to the medial longitudinal fasciculi and the rubrospinal tract lies ventral to the decussation of the superior cerebral peduncles. Now next is the transverse section at the level of the superior colliculi. Now as you can see, the central grey matter in each half contains the two nuclei, as you can see. The oculomotor, this is the oculomotor one, this is the oculomotor nuclei, and the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. Now first of all, the oculomotor nuclei, this pink color shows the oculomotor nuclei and it basically lies in the ventromedial part. The nuclei of the two sides fuse together forming a single complex having a triangular outline, as you can see. Okay, and that oculomotor nuclei are bounded laterally by the medial longitudinal fasciculi. If you remember, previously in the inferior colliculi level, the medial longitudinal fasciculi was present over here. But now in the superior colliculi TS, as you can see, now it has merged with this over here, as you can see. Okay, it has merged with this part of the grey matter. So that's why the oculomotor nuclei are bounded on the lateral sides by the medial longitudinal fasciculi. Now, one more important thing in the oculomotor nuclei is the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. And this Edinger-Westphal nucleus is basically supplying the sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscles of the eyes. And they mainly forms a part of the oculomotor nucleus and is located dorsal to the rostral 2/3 of the main oculomotor nucleus. Next are the emerging fiber of the oculomotor nerve. Now, as you can see, this is the emerging fiber of the oculomotor nerve, basically emerging from the oculomotor nuclei. Now, this emerging fibers of the oculomotor nerve passes ventrally through the tegmentum, intersecting the red nucleus. As you can see, it actually intersects the red nucleus, and then passes medial part of the substantia nigra and emerge in the posterior part of the interpedunculaire fossa through the sulcus on the medial aspect of the crus cerebri. Now, one more important thing is that the superior colliculus, remember, is a flattened mass formed of 7 concentric alternating lamina. Remember, it is basically formed of the 7 concentric alternating lamina of white and grey matters. Superior colliculus receives the efferent fibers basically from the 4 main parts, that is the retina, spinal cord, frontal and the occipital visual cortex, and the inferior colliculus. The next important thing is the pretectal nucleus. Now, as you can see, this is the pretectal nucleus. Now, look at this diagram. This is the pretectal nucleus. Now, this pretectal nucleus is basically a small group of neurons and lies deep to the supralateral part of the superior colliculus. Now, as you can see, the pretectal nucleus receives some of the efferent as well as gives the efferent fibers also. Now, these are the efferent fibers. Now, it receives the efferent fibers from the lateral root of the optic tract. As you can see, this is the optic tract. So, lateral root of the optic tract actually gives it the efferent fibers. Okay, and this pretectal nucleus actually gives the efferent fibers to the Edinger-Westphal nucleus of the same as well as the opposite side. As you can see, same as well as the opposite side. The pretectal nucleus is an important part of the pathway for the pupillary light reflex and the consensual light reflex. Its lesion causes the Argyll-Robertson pupil, in which the light reflex is lost but accommodation reflex remains intact. Now, next is the red nucleus. This is the red nucleus. Now, it is a mass of grey matter which appears ovoid in cross section. It is about 0.5 cm in diameter and situated dorsomedial to the substantia nigra. So, it basically presents dorsomedial to the substantia nigra. And in the fresh specimen, it is red-pink in color due to its high vascular supply and an iron-containing pigment present in the cytoplasm of this cell of the red nucleus. The white matter basically contains the decussation of the fiber. As you can see, these are the 2 decussation of the fibers. Now, first of all, this is the dorsal tegmental decussation of the Maynard. Now, as you can see, this decussation of the fiber contains the tectospinal and the tectobulbar tract arising from the superior colliculi and forms the dorsal tegmental decussation of Maynard. Okay, while this decussation is actually decussation of the fibers of the rubrospinal tract arising from the red nuclei, forming the ventral tegmental decussation of the forehead. Now, this is the, as you can see, this is the medial longitudinal fasciculi. It basically lies ventrolateral to the oculomotor nuclei. We discussed about this before only. Now, tegmentum at this level also contains the same laminiski as that were in the inferior colliculi part. Okay, but the lateral one is missing over here. Rest all medial, trigeminal and spinal one are present over here. Now, the lateral laminiski is not seen at this level because it terminates in the nucleus of the inferior colliculus only. Now, emerging fiber of the oculomotor nerve, as you can see, are also present over here. Now, next is the medial longitudinal fasciculus or the MLF. Now, this MLF is a heavily myelinated composite tract found in the paramedian plane of the brainstem. It retains its position relative to the central grey matter throughout the midbrain, pons and cranial part of the medulla oblongata. Now, this MLF, as you can see, extends cranially to the interstitial nucleus of the Kagel, as you can see, also known as the accessory oculomotor nucleus. This is basically located at the junction of the midbrain and the diencephalon near the rostral end of the cerebral aqueduct. And caudally, it becomes continuous with the anterior intersegmental fasciculus of the spinal cord. Now, the MLF consists of the fibers arising mainly from the vestibular nuclei, as you can see, and the fibers of the MLF actually interconnects the nuclei of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th cranial nerve and the spinal nuclei of the accessory nerve, as you can see. Okay, 3rd one is the oculomotor, 4th is the trochlear, 5th is the trigeminal and 6th is the abducent, and also with the spinal nuclei of the accessory nerve. The chief function of the MLF is to coordinate the movement of the eye, head and neck and in response to the stimulation of the vestibulocochlear nerve. Now blood supply of the midbrain is, first of all, the arterial supply is the posterior cerebellar artery and the superior cerebellar artery, and when the venous plexus over here is the basal vein and the great cerebral vein. So this was all about the midbrain. Hope you understood well. Thank you so much.